Oh my god, you guys, I am so full. I like dolls, but I love books. Hello out there, all you doll-loving book nerds, and welcome to my channel, where my dolls and I sit and talk about the books we like. Sometimes it's Barbie, sometimes it's Illy, sometimes it's Monster High, sometimes it's a Disney princess, sometimes it's... You get the point. Basically, my dolls and I have our own private little book club. My name is Daniel, and I am the Barbie book boy. Today, my gal pal and I are going to be talking about a book called The Devil and Mrs Davenport by Paulette Kennedy. But before I get too far ahead of myself, please allow me to introduce my co-host for the day, the iconic Hollywood hair Barbie. This luscious beauty came out in 1992. So in the early 90s, Barbie went through this hair play craze. You may recall a very popular doll known as Totally Hair Barbie. This particular doll was the first of this trend. These hair play dolls often had some sort of gimmick, and this lady is no exception. So Hollywood hair Barbie originally came with a magic spray solution, and her comb doubled as a stencil. So what you would do is hold the comb up against her hair, and then you would spray it with the magic solution, and when you pulled the stencil away, she would have pink stars all throughout her hair. I actually found mine new in box, so she did come with the magic spray, but I can't find it right now. I don't know, I think it's somewhere in my garage, but for whatever reason, probably because this doll is like 30 something years old, my spray doesn't work anymore because I did try it when I first unboxed her. But I don't hold it against her. I still love her, and I always love me a hair play doll. You might think as a bald person that I would be jealous of the fully rooted hair community, but I'm not. I mean, how could I possibly be resentful of somebody so freaking stylish? I mean, just check her out. She is so beautiful with those like crazy day glow blue eyeballs. Just don't ask about the mesh fishing net bow in her hair. But I love this white and gold sort of members only style jacket that she's got on. And check out her adorable romper that she covered with a skirt. The romper is kind of like a halter style, so it goes up around her neck and then she put the jacket over it. This is very early 90s, like Princess Diana athletic wear chic. And she had the absolute nerve to pair this outfit with gold cowboy boots. I mean, come on. She's unbelievable. You guys, she's so 90s, I can't even stand it. I can totally see her like sashaying onto the set of 90210 and like slapping Brenda and like running off with Dylan. But you might be asking yourself, what does Hollywood hair Barbie have to do with The Devil and Mrs Davenport? Nothing! Nothing at all. I just love her. And she loved this book, as did I. So The Devil and Mrs Davenport was written by an author called Paulette Kennedy, and she also wrote The Artist of Blackberry Grange, The Witch of Tin Mountain, and Parting the Veil. So the first thing you probably need to know about The Devil and Mrs Davenport is that Miss Paulette very kindly included a content warning at the beginning of the book, which I will share with you now. So be warned. I found all of that and more to be true within this book, so really, be warned. So the book starts on the first day of spring in Missouri of 1955. And our protagonist, Loretta Davenport, has been sick for the past week with some kind of fever. But with this fever, she has started having these like super creepy auditory hallucinations. These hallucinations freak her out because up until this point, she's pretty much been a typical mid-century housewife / mother. Loretta had dropped out of high school and got married to her husband Pete when she was pretty young, like 16 years old. Now Pete is a little bit older than Loretta, and they met at one of those like evangelical tent revival church sermon type things. And Loretta couldn't help but be swept away by his powerful performance. But also I think she was pretty anxious to leave her life of hog farming behind. Loretta was raised by her single father because her mother died when she was kind of young. Her dad is somewhat distant, so she felt like a burden to him without her mother around. So she left the hog farm to settle into life with Pete. Now, Pete is a professor at some kind of like Bible Christian college. And he's like trying to make a name for himself in that community, and he's trying to make tenure, and he's just very into their image. This puts a lot of pressure on Loretta to be like the perfect housewife and mother, and basically she spends her entire life trying to live up to his impossible standards. But being the dutiful housewife, she basically just goes along with Pete's agenda until a local teen girl goes missing. Coincidentally, this happens around the same time that Loretta begins having her little auditory hallucinations. But being a good Christian woman, she decides to go to her husband first about these new experiences she's having. Loretta's thinking that maybe she's being called by the Lord in some way. That's basically the only frame of reference she has for that kind of thing, is the stuff in the Bible about being called and prophesying, and their particular denomination is very big about like speaking in tongues, which Loretta's never really done. But good old Pete just paints Loretta with the Ophelia paintbrush. He basically decides that it's just a woman thing and brushes it off. Female problems. Gotta stay dressed, lady, for the people. But Loretta isn't convinced that that's all it is. So she goes behind Pete's back and starts seeing a parapsychologist. This parapsychologist was actually recommended to Loretta by her usual female doctor, which I thought was interesting because I didn't even realize that women were allowed to be doctors back then. But I'm not very bright. Anyway, this parapsychologist is named Dr. Curtis Hanson, and he is ecstatic by Loretta and her abilities. He takes her on as a project, almost like a case study, if you will. As he helps her, her powers kind of start to develop, and he gives her all these books on parapsychology and the occult, and she's like reading up on this stuff. And as she does this, the secrets that she's keeping from her husband just keep piling up, and things with her husband Pete start to become complicated. But she's determined to see where all this takes her. But Pete, being the know-it-all that he is convinced that she's crazy or possessed, or maybe even both. I mean, let's face it, crazy and possessed do make good bedfellows. But either way, he's not super helpful or supportive. Pete isn't the sort of man who's ever going to prioritize his wife's mental health. So she's basically left alone to try to figure all this out in secret while still trying to maintain this perfect family image that he kind of hypocritically insists upon. Obviously, she has the help of Dr. Hanson, but essentially she's on her own to try to figure out what's going on with all of these ghosties that are just babbling to her. And her journey through this process is pretty harrowing. Get it? Harrowing? And that's basically the story of the Devil and Mrs. Davenport. So what are my thoughts? Well, first and foremost, the best thing about the Devil and Mrs. Davenport is by far and away the character of Loretta herself. She is brave and smart and someone that you absolutely root for from the very beginning of this book. She possesses a level of integrity that takes her to some pretty dark places, and it forces her to fight for what's right with every single ounce and fiber of her being. But she is always compelled to do the right thing, even if it goes against society and gender norms, and sometimes even her own neighbor. There is definitely some girl-on-girl crime going on between Loretta and her neighbor Phyllis. Even though Phyllis totally invited Loretta over one day for like coffee and monkey bread. What's monkey bread? I'm so glad you asked. This. I got super curious when I read that part because I had never heard of monkey bread, so I immediately hopped online and found like 10,000 recipes. I just absolutely had to make some for this video. It's basically just like a tearaway bread that you make in a bundt cake pan. Bun. I mean, it kind of just tastes like dropped it. It kind of just tastes like a cinnamon roll. But enough about Phyllis and her shady monkey bread motives. There are also some beautiful sort of sisterly relationships that Loretta is able to form in this book. And that's nice for Loretta because Pete has only ever encouraged her to socialize with the women from the church. These women never accepted her, and she suspects it's because she's just trash from a hog farm who's never going to be good enough for their little mean girl church group. This book is described as gothic horror, and I guess I accept that. I mean, there are elements of mystery, and there are moments when Loretta is absolutely terrorized and abused and medically mistreated. The treatment of her is horrific, but I don't know if there's much horror, but I'm okay with it because I love this book so much that I don't honestly care how it's described. It was such a fantastic book that brought a character into my life that I know I won't soon forget, and neither will you if you just give this book and this recipe a try. So there you have it, my thoughts and some very unhelpful input from my pal Barb here on The Devil and Mrs Davenport. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and maybe even comment. I mean, you're already here. Leave a comment for Hollywood Hair Barbie. Tell her your deepest, darkest secrets. Tell her what you've always wanted to say out loud but never had the courage. And I made monkey bread for Pete's sake. Not that Pete, not Loretta's punchable husband Pete. The Pete from the saying, the generic Pete. The for Pete's sake Pete. Whoever that Pete is. You get it. My dolls and I are going to be doing these little weekly sort of book review videos, so if that's your thing, then stay tuned. Oh my god, you guys, I am so full. I wonder why they call it monkey bread. Because we're just monkeying around over here.